The 2024 college football season doesn't start until August, but it's never too early to look ahead and rank the top 25 teams in the nation. The 2024 season is all about change. There's a new 12-team playoff. There's a ton of conference realignment. But despite all of those changes, we can guarantee one thing, and that is the action on the field is going to be even more interesting thanks to the 12-team playoff, all the coaching changes, all the transfers for next season. I'm Stephen Lassen of All CFB 365. Let's break down the top 25 teams in a way too early, very early look at next season. Let's also look at some of the teams that just missed our rankings and also some of the top group of 5 teams in the nation to watch next year. We begin our look at 2024 by taking a look at some of the teams that just missed our rankings, and also included in this group are some of the projected top group of 5 teams for next season. Keep in mind, the group of 5 will have a guaranteed spot in the college football playoff thanks to an automatic bid by a conference champion. And as you can see by the teams on the screen there, Appalachian State, we project to be the top team in the Sun Belt. James Madison, with a new head coach after Kirk Cignetti left to be the head coach at Indiana, is also another program to watch out of the Sun Belt. Boise State won the Mountain West under interim coach Spencer Danielson. He gained the full-time job for 2024. Boise State is our projected top team in the Mountain West. Liberty is outside our top 25, but with quarterback Caden Salter returning to the team after entering the transfer portal, the Flames could easily jump into the top 25 by the time we start spring practice. Tulane, under new head coach John Sumrall, will continue to be solid as well. Also in this mix, some Power 5 teams like Auburn, Iowa State, Texas Tech, TCU, UCLA, and Wisconsin. All those teams in the 25 through 40 range of our very early projections. Before we get to our number 25 team, these 5 teams just missed our rankings. These are the last 5 that we considered for the spots in the top 25, and that is Miami, Texas A&M, Virginia Tech, SMU, and West Virginia. A lot of intrigue in this group. SMU moving to the ACC, coming off a season where they won the American Athletic Conference. Virginia Tech took a big step forward in Coach Brent Pry's second season. A lot of talent coming back to Blacksburg. West Virginia was one of the biggest surprises in the Big 12. Neil Brown was on the hot seat before the season started, ended up winning 9 games in a really nice season for the Mountaineers. And Miami and Texas A&M, 2 teams that have a ton of talent, but also 2 teams that still have a lot of question marks before we get into spring practice. At number 25, we have NC State. This is a program that has been rock solid under head coach Dave Doeren in recent years, consistently winning 8 or 9 games. I like the pickup of Grayson McCall at quarterback. Some other solid additions coming to Raleigh from the transfer portal. So NC State, we think, will still be a factor in the top 25 despite some losses, especially linebacker Peyton Wilson. At number 24, we have Iowa, the Hawkeyes. There's no doubt about it. The offense struggled mightily under coordinator Brian Ferentz, but with Brian Ferentz out of the picture, we'll see what Kirk Ferentz does from an offensive coordinator hire standpoint. But the guess here is it should be an improvement in 2024. Cade McNamara, who missed most of this season due to injury, returns at quarterback, and we can also bank on the Hawkeyes having a good defense under coordinator Phil Parker. The Louisville Cardinals check in at number 23. Head coach Jeff Brom guided this team to an appearance in the ACC championship game in his first season. Some rebuilding to do, but I like what the Cardinals are doing in the transfer portal. They picked up a couple of skill players from the portal, also added quarterback Tyler Shuck from Texas Tech. I think Jeff Brom will continue to build the offense, and also their defense was quietly one of the better ones in the ACC this season. Oklahoma State checks in at number 22, and Coach Mike Gundy's team was probably one of the bigger surprises in the Big 12 this year. A 2-2 start, but rallied to make the Big 12 championship game. The bulk of this roster is coming back, including quarterback Alan Bowman, not to mention running back Ollie Gordon. Also, the bulk of the defense is coming back this year, and that's an area where Oklahoma State will have to improve in 2024 if it wants to get back to the Big 12 championship game. Staying in the Big 12 for our number 21 team, and that is Kansas under head coach Lance Leipold. The Jayhawks have been trending up in each of the last 2 seasons, coming off a 9-4 season where starting quarterback Jalen Daniels missed most of this season due to injury. He is coming back next year. The Jayhawks should have one of the Big 12's better offenses, and the defense is slowly trending in the right direction. So the Big 12 is wide open in the new 16-team format. I think Jalen Daniels' return gives Kansas a chance to win the Big 12 in 2024. USC headlines the next tier of teams at number 20, and what a difference a year makes. 2023, USC had playoff aspirations. Quarterback Caleb Williams was coming off winning the Heisman Trophy, and instead, the 2023 season was a big disappointment for the Trojans. So Coach Lincoln Riley has a lot of work to do this season, and rebuilding and fixing the defense tops the list of priorities. Also for USC, we'll see what the offense looks like under quarterback Miller Moss. He had an outstanding performance in the Holiday Bowl against Louisville, but we'll need to see if he can do that over the course of the season. USC has a lot of talent, they have a lot of potential, but for this team in the Big Ten to make some noise next year, they're going to need to find a quarterback, and they're also going to need major improvement on defense. Kansas State checks in at number 19, and if you're looking for a breakout quarterback next season, Kansas State's Avery Johnson is a name to watch. Also, running back DJ Giddens comes back after a 1,000-yard season in 2023. The Wildcats do have some personnel losses on defense, and especially on the offensive line, they will have to address. But the schedule is favorable. Arizona, Kansas, and Oklahoma State all come to Manhattan next year. And if Avery Johnson is indeed the breakout quarterback we think he can be, Kansas State has a great chance to return to the Big 12 championship game. Despite an appearance in the national championship game this year, Washington checks in at number 18 in our way too early top 25. I like what Kalen DeBoer has done at Washington. I don't think that this team is going to completely fall off the map next year, but they are losing Michael Penix at quarterback. Mississippi State transfer Will Rogers is expected to be the starter. They also are expected to lose some of their key skill players and some of their defensive personnel to the NFL. So next year will be a year of reloading for Kalen DeBoer and this Washington staff, especially as they move to the Big Ten. The staff and the track record of Kalen DeBoer suggest that this program will not take a huge step back, but with all the key pieces gone, including Michael Penix, a step back is likely in order next season. Another team that won a conference championship that we expect to take a step back next season is Florida State. The Seminoles check in at number 17. Coach Mike Norvell doing a good job once again in the transfer portal. DJ Uiagalelei likely to be the team's starting quarterback, but Florida State losing some key pieces, including Keon Coleman, Johnny Wilson at receiver, Trey Benson, the outstanding running back, off to the NFL, Jared Verse from the defense, also going to the next level. So this is a Florida State team likely to be in rebuild mode, but also very much a contender in the ACC next season. One of college football's biggest surprises in the 2023 season was Arizona. Under Coach Jedd Fisch, they took a big step forward. They went from 5-7 to 10-3. They nearly made the Pac-12 championship game, and next year in 2024, this is a team that has the pieces to contend in the Big 12. Quarterback Noah Fafita, one of the better quarterbacks returning in college football. You also have a loaded group of receivers that will make this offense one of the better groups in the Big 12. But Arizona was much improved also on defense. They gave up 36.5 points a game in 2022 and allowed 21 points a game in 2023. So Arizona trending in the right direction, and with one of the best quarterbacks in the country returning next season, Jedd Fisch's team could win the Big 12. Utah is our very early projected favorite in the Big 12 at number 15. Injuries took a toll on Coach Kyle Whittingham's team in 2023, including starting quarterback Cam Rising missing all of the season. With Rising expected to return, the Utes likely to be much better next season. Also, I think we have to assume that Coach Kyle Whittingham and this staff, they are going to reload on defense and continue to be a standout group. LSU checks in at number 14, and this is a team that has a lot of question marks, but also a lot of potential for Coach Brian Kelly. The defense has to get a lot better. It struggled mightily against the pass. It's a big reason why Brian Kelly, after the bowl game, dismissed most of his defensive staff, including defensive coordinator Matt House. On the other side of the ball, LSU's losing Jaden Daniels. They're losing Malik Neighbors. They're losing Brian Thomas, two of the best receivers in the country this season. So LSU is losing a Heisman Trophy winning quarterback and two great receivers to go with the defense that has question marks. But new quarterback Garrett Nussmeier has potential to be one of the better quarterbacks in the SEC. LSU's probably going to be fine offensively, but for this team to get into the conversation to make the 12-team playoff, a lot of that is going to reside on how far this defense improves next season. Clemson is our ACC frontrunner at number 13. As always, we expect Clemson to have one of the nation's better defenses, especially as young talent like lineman Peter Woods and TJ Parker continue to improve. Also, the defense got great news when Barrett Carter opted to return for 2024 instead of enter the NFL draft. From an offensive standpoint, Clemson lost running back Will Shipley early to the NFL. They need Cade Klubnik at quarterback to take a big step forward next season. Under second-year coordinator Garrett Riley, that should be a pretty reasonable expectation for Clemson. Oklahoma checks in at number 12. The Sooners are on the move from the Big 12 to the SEC. Under coach Brent Venables, they made a 4-game jump in wins from 2022 to 2023. A lot of optimism around new quarterback Jackson Arnold. Also, a ton of talent around the skill positions for new coordinator Seth Luttrell. The big question for Oklahoma is, can they continue to progress on defense? And there's a lot of optimism they can, especially with linebacker Danny Stutzman passing on the NFL for another season in Norman. When we talk 2024 and potential breakout stars, look no further than Tennessee. With quarterback Nico Imaliava taking over, the Volunteers should be dynamic on offense. We got a small sample size of his potential in the Citrus Bowl against Iowa. Also, if you're a Tennessee fan, the defense has been trending in the right direction. This group still needs to get a lot better for the Volunteers to challenge Georgia and Alabama in the SEC, and there's a chance for this group to take a step forward in 2024, especially with edge rusher James Pierce returning. He should be one of the SEC's top defensive players next season. Notre Dame begins our top 10 as the Fighting Irish check in at the number 10 spot. It's been a good offseason for head coach Marcus Freeman. He was able to hire offensive coordinator Mike Dimbrock away from LSU. Also, the Fighting Irish landed quarterback Riley Leonard as a transfer from Duke. They also reloaded the receiving core from the transfer portal. Also, a couple of key defensive players, including Howard Cross and safety Xavier Watts, opted to return next season. The Fighting Irish should have one of college football's best defenses. The 12-team playoff should benefit a program like Penn State. The Nittany Lions check in at number 9. This is a program that has been really close to making the college football playoff. They've won double-digit games 5 times since 2016, but have yet to make the college football playoff. There's a lot of intrigue for this team next season. Obviously, they fell short against Ohio State and Michigan this year, but quarterback Drew Aller is back. Penn State hired Andy Koltanecki, Kansas's offensive coordinator. He will be taking over play calling in 2024. The 1-2 punch of Nicholas Singleton. Katron Allen is back at running back, but Penn State still has question marks at receiver. They're going to have some holes to fill along the offensive line, and the defense has a new coordinator as well, and that is former Indiana head coach Tom Allen. Missouri checks in at number 8 after coming off one of the best seasons in school history in recent memory. The Tigers finished 11-2 in 2023, beating Ohio State in the Cotton Bowl. The bulk of that team is set to return for 2024, including quarterback Brady Cook, wide receiver Luther Burden. Coach Eli Drinkowitz has some holes to fill along the offensive line, and a couple key members of that standout defense are gone. But Missouri has done a really nice job of filling some of those voids on the recruiting trail or in the transfer portal, so Missouri may not see a big step back next season as they move into this 12-team playoff era and have an excellent chance to make the playoff next season. We stay in the SEC for our number 7 team, and that is the Ole Miss Rebels. Losing running back Quinshot Judkins was a setback for this team, but still a ton of optimism next year with quarterback Jackson Dart returning. Also, the defense. It's a group that has struggled in recent years, but Ole Miss will went very heavy in the transfer portal to load up on this group, brought in standouts like Walter Nolan from Texas A&M on the defensive front. They've added pieces at every level to improve this defense. So Coach Lane Kiffin's group, with one of the SEC's top quarterbacks and a much improved defense, should be one of the top contenders to make the playoff next season. The Oregon Ducks check in at number 6 as Coach Dan Lanning's team moves from the Pac-12 to the Big Ten next season. The optimism for this group starts at quarterback. The Ducks landed one of the top quarterbacks in the transfer portal in Oklahoma's Dylan Gabriel. They also added Dante Moore to compete at quarterback from UCLA as well. No question about it, the Ducks will have no trouble scoring points. Noah Whittington returns at running back after injury. Tez Johnson at receiver passed on the NFL draft for one more season in Eugene, and the Ducks should have one of the best offensive lines in college football. A few holes to fill on defense for the Ducks, but this is a team that is equipped to contend for the Big Ten championship in its first year in the conference. We stay in the Big Ten for our next two teams and kick off the top 5 with Michigan and Ohio State. Michigan has dominated the Big Ten for 3 consecutive seasons, reaching the national championship in 2023. Obviously, a lot of uncertainty over Jim Harbaugh's future at Michigan. What will quarterback J.J. McCarthy do in regards to the NFL draft? So Michigan is one of those teams that by time we get to spring practice could move up a couple spots or they could fall back depending on what happens in the next couple weeks. Ohio State at number 5. This is a team that actually enters the season with more question marks than I think we're accustomed to seeing Ohio State. What happens at quarterback? Is it Will Howard, the Kansas State transfer? Is it Devin Brown? Is it one of the freshmen? Ohio State doesn't have many questions at the skill position spots, and the defense should once again be one of the best in college football. But there are major question marks about the offensive line and how the quarterback battle shakes out for this team to beat Michigan and once again return to the top of the Big Ten. The top 3 teams in our way too early top 25 all come from the SEC. And at number 3, we'll start with Texas. This is a team that just made the college football playoff, lost to Washington in the Sugar Bowl, but still a lot of long-term optimism here. Coach Steve Sarkisian has done a nice job of building up this program the last couple years. Still return one of the country's best offensive lines, led by left tackle Kelvin Banks. Whether it's Quinn Ewers, whether it's Arch Manning, Texas is going to be fine at quarterback. Some bigger question marks and some holes to fill on defense, but the way that Sarkisian has built this program, they are well equipped as they move into the SEC. Alabama fell just short of an appearance in the national championship game after losing to Michigan in the Rose Bowl, but you can bet on the Crimson Tide being back in the playoff again next season. We have Coach Nick Saban's squad at number 2. One of the biggest reasons is the return of quarterback Jalen Milroe. Dynamic breakout season this year. Still needs to continue to get better as a passer, but a lot of reason to believe that he will make another jump forward in 2024. Alabama's receivers, offensive line, certainly some room to improve there. And defensively, losing Kool-Aid McKinstry, Terrion Arnold in the secondary, as well as Dallas Turner off the edge. Some holes to fill, but as always in Tuscaloosa, there's no shortage of talent. At number 1, we have the Georgia Bulldogs. Kirby Smart's team fell short of its goal of a three-peat in 2023. This team is loaded for another run at it all in 2024. It starts with the return of Carson Beck at quarterback. Also, the Bulldogs did a nice job of filling some of those question marks that they had at the skill positions from the portal, bringing in Trevor Etienne at running back, also Colby Young, London Humphreys at receiver, and as always, similar to Alabama, regardless of where this team has question marks, there is promising 4 or 5-star talent ready to step up. So I like the Bulldogs to be the team to beat in 2024 in our way too early rankings. That's our look here at All CFB 365 for the top 25 teams in our way too early top 25 for the 2024 season. Keep in mind, this list is going to change dramatically over the next couple weeks and into the offseason before we get to spring practice, and even as we go into the summer with the transfer portal, coaching changes, coordinator changes to digest, quarterback battles to play out. Many changes are going to affect this list over the next couple months. It's more volatile than ever because of the transfer portal and all the changes in college football. But with the 12-team playoff coming next season, there's a lot of intrigue for these teams ranked outside the top 4 more than ever. But stay tuned and please subscribe to all CFB 365 as we continue to cover all things college football throughout the year.